Good evening and welcome to the Brosis YouTube channel. This is the KC Sports Talk. And we want to welcome today a distinguished guest, somebody I know from a very long time, one of the humblest gentlemen you can come across. He is none other than Wendell Downswell. You know, Boyus has a very deep resume. I'll try my best to cover as much as possible. So Boyus Downswell is the current director of football in Jamaica. He's also the current Jamaica Youth National Team director, technical director, and the technical director for Reno Football Club. Now, when you think about his professional career, he appears in several appearances for Jamaica national senior team, and I think he also appeared at the junior level or the youth level of football. But Boyus, why don't you go ahead, man, and tell us some more about your journey from your humble beginning at Savannah Primary School all the way to becoming the director of football in our little island of Jamaica.
All right. Good evening today to you, KC and JC. And JC, of course, my batchmate at college.
Yes,
Spent
indeed.
3 glorious years at GC Fosca.
Absolutely.
And that has really laid the foundation. And of course, that institution has been impacting significantly on the growth and development of sports in Jamaica. And that is something that we will speak about. Well, of course, I'm the technical director at the Jamaica Football Federation since 2018, and presently the president of Reno Football Club, and also the president, head the coaching education program at the JFF itself. So therefore, I've served in their various capacity, both at the senior level, which I will indulge in a little more later. At the senior level, the junior level, under 17, under 20, under 23, and of course, as technical advisor with the women's team. So, in a nutshell, that is what encompassed. What's my role was and is at the federation itself. Outside of that, my journey started a humble beginning. At Savannah Primary School, I can remember that quite vividly, the days that we spent there. There was a principal by the name of who took us to play against Manning's first form and Unity Primary, and that was that's where the impact started. Us having that opportunity, especially on a Friday, to go out and play against Manning's or Unity Primary. That impacted significantly on my passion and development for the sports itself. So that is where it all started. And of course, I went on to Stuart, Savannah Secondary School at the time. And again, that further enhanced the growth and development. I was under the stewardship of one Mr. Campbell, Billy Campbell, Sir Malcolm. They were the sports masters at the time. And of course, during the journey at Savannah Primary School, I encountered a number of outstanding individuals. As such, Spider-Man Wedderburn, of course, Andre Andrews, Robert Andrews, Desmond Pringle, and you can name the list, Trevor Winter, Pepper Rock at the time. These are individuals who have created a significant impact as it relates to the growth and development. While at Savannah Secondary School, senior school of course, it was called, and then the principal was Mr. Godfrey Stewart, Stewie we call him, of course, and those boys, we have the liberty of calling him Black Boy. That is something we can readily connect with that. So therefore, and I must say at Salama Secondary School, senior school at the time, the quality individuals that we have there could match just about any high school team. The team that we had, I can remember we went on to win the rural finals and won on about 2 or 3 occasions. And we were run up in the All Island finals. And a number of these individuals then at the time gone to school, where Rossi, you name the different schools these individuals went to and started creating a wave and creating an impact as it relates to football itself. And that journey was something of utmost importance to the development of football in the Western region. Because, and then out of that comes Arena Football Club, because all these players, and Arena has been a dominant force over the years. We have fell off a bit now, but if you check from the 70s up to the sort of impact that we have created, we have won the championship on 3 occasions. We were first world team to have won the premiership on three times and won that back to back. And I can remember one season we were All Island champion, we were knockout champion, the Premier League champion, and we were the champions of champions. So, and we remain a dominant force. Over the years, the club has produced numerous national players. We have a World Cup player, of course, Aaron Lawrence was part of that most important and significant World Cup 1998 squad. Of course, we have produced other youngsters who have been to under 17, under 20 World Cup, and those who have been integral part of it. I think overall, at that level, the club has produced over 1,000 youth players and somewhere about 50 or 60 national senior players so far. So therefore, if you look at the impact that it has created, and that's open second, comes out of that Savannah secondary second. And then what it does, it propels. And then when having leave there now, I went on, I spent at least 1 year at secondary, now Froome Tech, and then I went on to States. And that's where it all started. I think, under the guidance of Oliver Clue, I spent 3 years at St. Elizabeth Technical High School, my skills as a player. And then from there, after finishing high school, I spent 3 years as a pre-trained teacher. At the time, I was the assistant coach to Oliver Clue. And then from there, Clue. And well, and I'd have fun.
But let me ask you something. Let me butt in a little bit. During your time at Sportz, you had said Sportz, right?
Yeah.
Was it Sportz? Yeah. Who were some of the other stalwart footballers? Can I remember there were some other big name footballers during the Sportz period there, Can you remember?
Can recall, readily comes to mind was Noel Sweetie Smith. Noah Sterling.
Right. Then there were some big time footballers
Peter Parkins, of course.
Right.
David Farkas.
I remember those names.
Spider-Man with a burn. And important, who we were up against in these semifinals, Brosis. We were up against Brosis. We have, Sheridan Samuels, the big striker. It was a big striker at the time.
Yes, thank you very much.
Striker. I remember that semi-final. States won that semi-final. I think it was 2-1.
Yes, man.
The first leg was a 1-1 at Rossi's, and we won. Then the other leg 2-1 at States. Big game, man. When you saw that crowd, oh gosh, massive crowd.
Yeah. Yes, man. Roadblock.
I want to chime in a little bit. To the audience, I'm going to call him Bias. That's what I'm used to. I'm going to call him Bias. All right, so guys, I have to mention this because I don't think he emphasized it enough, and I'm going to emphasize it. So I went to senior school also for 2 years, and so I know Bias from a very long time and watch him come through the system. And the group of guys that boy is named, for most of you who don't know, these are no ordinary footballers. When you think about Desmond Pringle, he attended Veer, right?
Yeah, he went
And
to Veer.
you think about, I think about Andre Andrews. You know, Andre Andrews is no doubt in my mind one of the best wingers that Jamaica has ever seen, especially on the left side.
And importantly, he represented Jamaica as a schoolboy.
Exactly.
And this scored against Cuba.
Right. I don't know if you guys remember when the goalpost used to be in the ground with cement. Well, I've seen Andre Andrews kick a ball and shake the goalpost for about 5 to 10 minutes. You know, this is how powerful he was. And then you didn't mention one of my favorite players, or two of my favorite players, Roy Bob. You know, Roy Bob could score from anywhere on the field, and he was the smallest guy on the field.
Okay.
You know, also Mendes and Psalms and Malenko.
Like very young.
Right, very young. But these guys, you know, all of them, we had players at senior school during that time who were so good that they couldn't make the team. So they went on to play at other secondary schools such as Granchill and Frome because they couldn't make the team at senior school. That's how good the side was at senior school. You know, but yeah, I just wanted to give that a little bit because, and this guy had some, you know, you guys talk about Ali McNabb with tricky feet. Think about Wendell Downswell. This is the guy with the tricky feet right here. Could play at any position on the field, They have him down as a winger, but he could play at any position.
Yeah, so the journey continues. And then after I went on to spend at least 3 years as the assistant to Oliver Clue, serve on the under 16, under 14 competition, of course, just starting as a coach. And then most importantly and significantly, I went on to GC Foster College. And that was a shift in paradigm. That in terms of the intricacy and understanding the rudiments of coaching and such, that all started at GC Foster College. And I must say that, you know, the 3 years that I've spent there, 3 years that have really, really molded me into the individual I am today. And I'm eternally grateful that I had attended that institution.
So both of you were batchmate. You and John were batchmate at GC Foster College. No, I love GC Foster College from the depth of my heart. Now you guys take us on campus about what GC Foster was like on campus.
Let me let John start there.
But you know, I want to start because you had started to that was almost like a paradigm shift. It was a shift in thought, words, and deeds in terms of how we saw sport generally. And a couple of programs ago, I had mentioned on this same program here that I had gone back to Rossi to assist Diggy, Mr. Henry, for some summer training for the Rossi's Dakar in the 80s. And what I brought to the table then, to the training system then, was, I want to say, very unique and very instructive and very productive in terms of what the players turned out to be. And that was inspired by what GC Foster taught me, and more specifically, Ramos, Casagrande Ramos.
Ramos from Brazil.
From Brazil. When he came,
powerful,
with a totally different concept in terms of what training should be.
What's like?
I was sharing with them that we would just sometimes, you remember when the Brazilian under 21 side
Dunga and others.
Yeah, I remember. Thank you. You can remember.
They played against Santos.
Exactly. Kick some corners, nothing like that. It was almost like a movie watching them train.
Train motion.
Yes, man. I took from that and
Poetry.
made my own with my own inputs and went to overseas and shared with them some training concepts. Well, the rest is history. They won everything that year, and, and about through the 80s they dominated because of the concepts. Yeah, man, seriously. But yeah, it was certainly a learning experience for us. And you know, I'll make Boris share his point. But it was a learning experience.
Yes. Because what we had at the time, we had the top tutors in the top national coaches in Jamaica were all lecturers. Mr. Harvey, as
in all sport,
the guy
yes.
in basketball and with Vivian Latiscott, Renford Pinnock for cricket, Karanja. Yeah, in basketball.
And the gentleman from India who did hockey.
Mr. Singh.
Yes, Mr. Singh.
So the level of tutoring that we got, we had a solid foundation as it relates to sports, and our concept and vision of sports was totally different from the others. And you can see the impact.
And I want to say that exactly. I was about to say to you that what we experienced, others would have experienced as well. Because when they would have left college and went back into their various communities, within 2-3 years after that, the whole face of, it wasn't just a case, winning a particular event or a JC or a Calabar, but you had little infiltrations of talent now.
Yes, start emerging school.
Yes. From no-name schools.
And that's what
when you check who was behind that, and when you check who was behind that, it was the people from the GC Foster College.
Yeah, and of course, you can't forget the late Al Phillips.
Oh,
in terms of track and field, passionate, very passionate about track and field, and vast amount of experience traveling with numerous national teams. So therefore, what we get was first-hand experience and knowledge as it relates to international sports at itself in the different areas as it relates to sports itself, both basketball. I have seen individuals who came to GC Foster, didn't know anything about volleyball, and go on to represent Jamaica. So
better than that, won the championships too.
I won championship. We won just about everything, both basketball, volleyball, football, cricket, of course, and Vivian Latiscott in cricket.
Oh, R.I.P. She died recently.
So as you guys cross talk, I'm listening to you guys, and me and Boris was talking a couple of days ago, and while we were talking, he mentioned something to me. He said, mention a word, and I said, stick a pin on that word, and I noticed you guys brought it up again. Will you guys, both of you, tell us the importance of that, creating that environment that is very conducive to learning the sport, and how did that benefit your interpretation of each type of sport that you guys been into, and even you, John, in your career, how did that benefit you in your career? The environment that was created, because apparently the environment that was created, like John said, was like a movie. So it was entertainment while learning. So how did that impact your success that you have had now?
Let me just describe it. GC Foster was a home away from home. That's how we treated the institution. It was so important to us. That is an institution that we cherish. That is an institution that we ensure that no one would destroy any form. It was dear to us because we see this as the institution that would have changed our life and change and revolutionize sports in Jamaica. And that is what it has done. So therefore, that like John mentioned about the different areas and the quality of the tutors that we have and the whole ambience, the whole atmosphere. You know, it was free. Is that we have those who involved in hockey, those involved in basketball. These are something that we all share with one another. So therefore, what we were so rounded in
Okay, so we seem to
terms
have,
of sports because when I majored in
have-
hockey.
okay, we seem to have left some of those sports behind, right? John and Boris, we seem to have left some of those sports that you guys mentioned behind. Can you tell me what do you think is contributing to these sports that are left behind, such as hockey and so forth that you guys mentioned? We haven't seen the same development in hockey and even cricket and basketball like we've seen in track and field and football. So what are some of the things that you think have contributed to this?
One of the things that we need to do is that, you see, the grassroots programs have utmost significance. And we now have to now refocus, rechannel our energy as it relates to grassroots development. And not only that, and even in football now, this is something that we will definitely be creating a lot of emphasis on, the grassroots development. And once we can have that grassroots development, look at right across the board, get them up to speed with the modern methodology as it relates to coaching. Yes, we will definitely be there. This is something that is probably sadly lacking now, and this is something that we will have to now place that emphasis. We have done it in the era of track and field and football to a great extent. If we can, especially through GC Foster, look at those where we could consider adding more minor sports and start attach that level of significance and importance to it.
Go ahead, John. Okay, I think we have some technical problem with John. Okay, so I want to frame this a little bit better, boys. Most people understand about the Jamaican Football Federation, and even know, most of us even know that the president is Michael Ricketts. Now, tell us, what role do you actually play as director of football? What's really your portfolio in Jamaica?
My portfolio overall responsibility of football, especially mainly with the youth at the youth level and the female level, that as such, played a significant role supervising the various programs that we have, looking about the coach education program, working with the parish associations in terms of their youth development program, starting at grassroots level all the way up. So those are some of the major roles as it relates to my responsibility, of course.
Okay, so you actually hold a big umbrella, and the JFF pretty much does is affiliated with the FIFA and so forth, right? So they would do. So who is responsible for making matters decisions such as for the overseas players and so forth? Do you have any role in the decision that's made with overseas players?
Well, that is a prerogative. Mostly, is the head coach makes that choice, and as it relates to the squad based on the needs of the squad. One who plays that role, he will advise us, advise me as a technical director about this, and then based on his assessment of the players, then he will say, all right, coach, yes, I think that's okay. Or why not look at A, why not look at B, why not look at C? And then of course, important it is for a local program that we ensure that we don't marginalize our local players and such.
Yeah, but let me ask you something, Wendell. You did mention about grassroots program. I am particularly concerned about the development of young talent. And I sometimes see that there's a void between let's say DaCosta Cup or Manning Cup in high school, and when those kids would have gone on to play in Premier League or so on. What is the JFF doing in terms of bridging the gap, providing the kind of training stimulus that the youngsters would need, you know, between the high school and the Premier League gap there? For instance, there was a time when we had for a parish, what you call like a parish team, under 13, under 16 parish team. I don't know if that exists anymore. So I wanted to tell me a little bit more about what does the grassroots development plan entail? I don't know if you heard me.
What it really entails, we start. Yes, I heard it. It is grassroots level. What we did is that the parish associations, that is the 13 parishes program starting from age 6 to 12, where they are engaged on a regular, we have them engaged on a regular basis at the grassroots level. And then we, at the level now, we have the parish competition that is played that within the confed. And then now we have the confed under 13 and under 15 competition that goes on. And what we're planning on doing now, we realize that this competition don't do now is extend this competition, and that what we plan on doing is that we will be having now under 17 competition to capture those players at that age, because what we discover that between the age of 16 and 17, we have a major gap as it relates to that development of players going forward. So what we want to do is to capture that pool of players between 16 and 17 so that they'll be able to make the transition, because at 18, 19, they will be in their respective high school competition and then make the transition. And what we intend on doing now is having a second competition. Yeah, there's a second tier competition that is just below the Premier League, and then a third tier competition structured nationally. So what we would do is capture all these players in these various age groups.
So would that be a parish side or club side within the parish?
The second tier would be a club team within the parish or within the confed. So what they would do, they would start at the parish level, paying for their respective parish, 13 and 15, and then they transition now to the clubs. And what we want to do now is broaden that base now to both male and female, because we don't want to be gender biased.
Not in this time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with John.
Yeah, okay. Because you know, I think go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with John that we have youngsters in Jamaica. We have youngsters in Jamaica that they are immensely gifted, you know, both in track and field and in football. So I'm with John on that one. My concern is that we haven't seen the same continuity that we have seen in track and field all the way up to the professional level as it relates to football. You know, and I know that with the resources that you have to work with, that you're doing your best, because I know you personally and I know you're going to do your best. But what do you think can be done to ensure that we fill these gaps that exist, apart from, because we see it at high school level also, whereby we have guys who are very gifted in high school, play the Costa Cup, play Manning Cup, and I would say about 50%, maybe I'm just being generous, but up to about 60% of those individuals do not go on to the pro level. You know, I'm thinking about how can we harness these talents and develop these talents with the limited resources that you have to work with to make sure that these guys get to that level.
And that is why now we are implementing that second tier and third tier competition to capture these players, because we recognize that we have been losing a lot of talent, because so much. We have 12 Premier League teams, and the Premier League teams can take so much and no more. So there, once we start now getting that second tier competition into a semi-professional, right, eventually into a professional rank. So if we can have at least 2 or 3 competitions that we can see now as professional competition, that, because you have to see football from the standpoint as a career. Because exactly, if you continue at the amateur level, you're not going to know what you have done. You won't get them to make that transition. We want to see football as a career opportunity, and that is what we have to make it into.
But can I ask, let me insert something here quickly. Let me just ask, because I still want to be clear on something here. And I am actually quoting people listening. There's a listener who is actually asking the same question, Alfred Reed. You probably know him as Dewey. Yeah. But he's asking whether that there's a system where the best players within a parish, youth players, can be pulled together to represent that parish, whether they're under 16 or under whatever. The best of the creme de la creme of the parish can be pulled together, kept together, and trained, against a Trelawney versus St. James kind of thing. Do we have that?
We don't have that on a long-term basis. We have the competition that is played at the parish level, where you have the creme de la creme of the parishes, but to have that sustained program over an extended period of time now. So what we intend on doing now that we have the technical center that is in operation now, we are now about to identify, and because of COVID, again, that's a major setback, because we're planning on now starting not at the parish level, but starting at the confed level, that the different age group teams, we would bring them in on weekends and during the summer and during the holidays to have the respective zones or confeds operate on a long-term basis. So once we are able to have that program going, because the fact that we have the technical center now, that we have the dormitories and other things now, so therefore now we can accommodate something of that magnitude. So that is in the...
Okay. Are there any plans?
Because I think it's critical that we... Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, I was asking Wendell, are there any plans? We know that there are a bunch of international players, foreign-based players that were invited to play for the national senior team. Are there any plans to start inviting foreign-based players that are to our youth national team?
I didn't hear that clearly.
Okay, I'm saying that the big news in Jamaica after the settlement of the contract with our national players is that we've been getting a lot of national players are being approached to play for our national team, for the senior team. I'm asking, are there any plans to start inviting foreign-based youth players also to play for our national team, the youth national team?
But I guess that is going on now as we speak.
No, I'm talking about under 17 and under 23, not the senior national team, the youth national teams.
What about the new youth national?
I'm saying, are there any plans to invite any foreign players in that age group to play for Jamaica?
From time to time, we have different individuals, because I remember when I took the team to the World Cup, the under 2 or 3 overseas-based players were part of that. One from England, I think 2 from England, and 1 was from the USA,
okay,
United States of America. So from time to time, we have these individuals who comes down at both starting at the under 17. You don't get them much at the under 15 level, but now we have seen now that a lot of individuals at age 15 now start expressing an interest to represent the country, which is good. From that tender age, prior to now, we weren't getting much in terms of under 15. It started at under 17s.
Yeah, I have a little,
we will get.
all right, I have a little
Yes, John.
question to ask. Yeah. Again, I am very much into youth training, and I like the idea of youth training. But my other concern is youth training is different from big people training. It's different from adult type training. I guess my question is are provisions made? In other words, the trainers themselves, would you say they are adequately prepared to deal with youth training? In terms of, for instance, I know that FIFA recently had a stipulation about child protection and safety, and that before you can coach in a youth program, you have to actually have that kind of, I don't want to say qualification, but training in terms of how to manage and how to deal with the issues affecting youth. Would you say that this is the case with our trainers here who deal with youth program?
Yes, because if just recently we had at least 2019 coaches who certified as a CONCACAF D license coach.
Okay.
And therefore, is that now we have established through the coaching school itself, because we are revamping the coaching, reviewing our coaching education program presently, because what will actually happen is that CONCACAF will have a coaching convention, and we will very much want to be a signee of that, which means that if we become a signee of that, our coaches will be able to apply their trade anywhere in the CONCACAF region as such. And
excellent.
Something that we are preparing, we are looking about, and now we are fine-tuning the curriculum itself.
Excellent. That's very good.
We have to look at the vision, the procedures, policies and procedures. We have put them in place. We have put a philosophy in place as it relates to that, teaching philosophy in place as it relates to that. Then now we are calling now the C license curriculum to start certifying coaches. And we have identified at least 10 coach educators presently out of the D license, and these individuals will be entrusted with the responsibility now of being coach educators who will certify the coaches within our coaching ranks itself.
Excellent.
And they will be exposed to UEFA, FIFA, and CONCACAF best practices method as it relates to coaching itself. So therefore, and what we actually have there now is that at the parish level now, we will identify individuals who will be able to conduct the D license and the C license at the parish level. So, say for example, an individual training as a teacher, he can become a coach or a coach educator starting at the parish level. So that will actually do is create a greater impact in terms of certifying and spreading the knowledge starting at the parish level.
Yeah.
So this is a major plan that we have to roll out, Sean.
Yeah, happy to hear that, because I think that is critical in going forward. That we train the trainers, we train the trainers in terms of how to manage and handle not just youth, but all spectrum, right across the spectrum of coaching. So I am
administrative.
If not for only the purpose of development with the various programs that you mentioned at parish level, I think that we should also pay attention to the fact that maturation has something to do with how good a player is going to develop. And so by your plan that you have right now, it would indicate that that would be taken into consideration. And so we would have not just the right age group playing with each other, but also we would have people who are with the same talent level playing with each other in most cases. So you guys are actually covering a big picture of what should be taken into consideration as it relates to development of these youth. And me and John, of course, we always talk about this because we believe that this is so critical in getting the quality that we expect from our players in football, track and field, or whatever sport they are involved in.
Another thing I want to...
Because the plan is that we want to establish we established the elite program, both at the under 15, under 17, and under 20 level, but more so between 12 and 17. Once we are able to establish, because
critical years,
critical right there, and that is where now we want to have some of the best coaches and the most qualified coaches between that 12 and 17 age group.
Yeah, coaches and trainers.
Right.
I want to differentiate between coach and trainers.
Right. And goalkeeper coaches.
Yeah, specialists. Because if we're going to compete at the global level, then we have to be so prepared, because this is what they are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, this is what they are doing. And I mean, so if we're going to compete at that level, then we have to at least make sure we put in place from early that level of specialty and training and so on, or else we're going to be left behind. We're always going to be catching up. You know,
the good thing about it, John, the good thing about it, you know, only country in the region, in the Caribbean, that have a coaching school. And our coaching school started from, that's from the last 11 years that we have been certifying. We have certified over 800 coaches thus far between our advanced level 1 and our advanced level 2. So it's just for us now to build on that, because one of the requirements at the high school level is that you must have an advanced level 2 to be a head coach in the Premier League, the same. And then what we intend on doing now by 2021, 2022, we will have to have the B license and then the A license. We are looking by 2025 that we should have at least 5 or 6 pro license coaches, coach educators, and pro license coaches. So that is something that we have planned out in our technical plan.
Just give me a time to read something that a listener has written.
Yeah.
This is coming from Alfred Reed, and he says, the best plan would be to mandate each parish to have the various age group competitions, and then each parish pick their best, and then we have parishes playing against each other. More or less what we've kind of been hinting at, the need to have, you know, the best in a parish being pulled together versus playing against the best of, you know, like a national parish competition, but at the relevant age groups. Now, I know that takes money, funding to do, but at the same time, it's something that, you know, we should really be, I think, moving towards. So you have Westmoreland best versus Kingston best versus Trelawney best versus St. Elizabeth best, you know?
What we actually do, you know, as I say, we have a competition like that is run within the parish. But what we do is that we have it within the zone. So in the Western region, you'll have the likes of Westmoreland, St. James, Trelawney, and the Hanover, and they play. And then the winner from that, now at the winner and run up from each of those, you know, advance to the next round of the competition. Like that.
Okay. So you're saying that exists now? You're saying that currently exists?
That exists. We have that.
At what level? What age
across
level?
the board. We have that at the under 15 and under 13 level.
Is that so? You know, that is news to me. Really news to me. I'm happy to hear, but I wasn't cognizant of that. And this is why I keep pressing it.
They play within there. And then from there now, there's a national under 13 competition that is played. And then a national under 15. Yeah. On the 13 boys, now we are going to bring in the under 13 girls.
But then, Wendell, that needs to be promoted. I don't know if that is promoted enough.
I know about it, John, because Mount Pleasant won it 3 consecutive years, the under 13.
Yeah,
I know about it. But I have a question for you, boys. You talk about the tier system in the age group. My concern is, in order for us to get the best out of what we're trying to do, who is responsible for vetting these prospects at the various age groups to make sure that we have a balance of talent base playing together? Who is responsible for vetting these?
What we have done now is that the B licensed qualified coaches now, they will be entrusted with that responsibility at the zonal level to monitor these.
Okay.
And they will serve as mentor to the young and upcoming coaches, because we want to provide some level of mentorship as it relates to these young coaches coming up. So these individuals at that level will take on that responsibility at the zonal level. So they will supervise the whole operation as it relates to talent, the program itself.
Let me ask you this quickly, because as Ken just mentioned it, we have to kind of bounce this one on you. The issue of high school, and we spoke about it last week, and I'm going to bring it up again, but the issue of high school, a tiered system in high school football. I mean, there's one school of thought that when a side plays against one side and get 12 love, that doesn't serve the purpose of development. A side play and get 6 and 7 and 8, and then he's out. Some school of thought they're now saying that perhaps it's time to have in the school system, the Costa Cup, Manning Cup, a tiered system where, you know, the top teams play against top teams and the just coming teams play against, you know, among themselves and try to gain their place into the top tier. What do you think of that?
that would be an excellent competition. But one of the things that the principals don't see, they see football from a recreational standpoint.
Yeah.
and that is one of the major problems that we have there. It's as something of the past time.
Yeah.
And they don't see that we structure it in a professional way. They want, for example, that local school down there, want Rossies to come there. When Rossies come, it's big thing for them and big payday. But so that is part of it. But if we are able to really structure it and put it in tier, that can you imagine if you have the top 12 schools in Jamaica playing over extended period of time?
Yeah. And that's a word, operative word, extended period.
Right.
I think personally, it's perhaps better for the development.
It would certainly.
I think so, but people not everyone share my view, you know.
To get the schools,
John, I agree with you, and I would advocate for that too. But you know, see what have to happen, you got to look at the pros and the cons. What we're talking about right here is development. I can't see a better plan in place if we're talking about development. That's the best plan I can see, because it's similar to what goes on in the Premier League in England. The teams that are in the bottom tier, they want to get to the top flight. So there is an incentive for them to play hard to get to the top flight. Whereas if they were mixed in with the top flight, then there would be nothing to work for. And some of these guys might just say, you know, I'm tired of getting 6 love. I'm not going to play anymore. Even though we know people have the love for football. But when there is something to work for, when you're thinking about development, even if there is no form of remuneration, just the fact that there is something to work for, it's just similar to the Costa Cup. Yeah. There is no prize money, but there is a cup. You know, so then it's going to help in the development. You see what I'm saying? So people have to look at it beyond saying, I think the people who are looking at it the opposite way are the people who see football as just pure entertainment, you know, and they think it's fun to see a side get 6 love and laugh at it. Football development is not comedy. You know, it's something that can be developed into a career. So we have to look at the best structure to develop the sport.
Yeah. Very interesting.
That first year and second year competition, if we are able to implement that, it will impact significantly on the growth and development of our.
I think so. I think so too. But that is left for a later argument, because
top 6 rural teams, top 6 corporate era teams, I know extended period.
Sell off.
Like we mentioned last week, boys.
The football culture that we have.
Yes, sell
like
off.
we mentioned last week, boys. We're saying that, remember that this would not be disadvantageous to any high school, because it's not only the non-traditional high school that would fall in that group. We'd have a team like, let's say, we might have a team like JC who might even fall into that group because JC is having a bad year. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at the advantages or the pros, I think that would be the best thing for development of football.
And it would generate excitement.
Exactly.
Can you imagine that JC is on the verge of being relegated? You can imagine? That would be like a riot. But anyway, yeah, go ahead. You were saying something. Go ahead. Boris, you were saying something?
Okay, John.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions from our audience?
Let me check here. No, not yet.
Okay, boys, I have a question for you, and this is a big one. So, do you think that the Premier League in Jamaica, do you think they should implement a draft system? And the reason why I'm asking this question is that I see the structure that Mount Pleasant has. And if we don't, after a while, then most of our talented players might end up playing for Mount Pleasant. So my concern is that we're going to have Mount Pleasant being the top team for many years without anybody being able to compete with them. So I'm saying, do you think that we should be maybe looking at a draft system? You know, I don't know if you understand how the draft system works, like the one that they have with the National Football Association in America.
Before getting into the draft, what we have to do, the first thing is that we have to start operating as professional.
Professional, yeah, thank you very much.
That's the first thing. Once we are going to think about the draft, which means the whole structure of the club, the administrative part, the whole setting, the quality of the players, all that, the whole marketing of the league itself, and all these things. But I think we are stepping in that direction now that we have a new body that forms, and therefore you will find that there will be a larger sum of funds now being distributed, allocated to the respective teams, and therefore this will enable the teams then to start work at the whole, as you know, you are aware of the whole problem that we have with infrastructure development in terms of the clubs itself. Because right now the Premier League, we would consider it is hand to mouth as it relates to prize money and such. So we're able to put that in, generate that level of sponsorship, market the sports in such a way, and then therefore now we can start looking at moving in that direction in terms of that professional thing as it relates to draft itself. But I think with the move that we have made with the Premier League presently is a step in the right direction.
So you strongly believe that, like for instance, the model that is Mount Pleasant, for instance, that you think that we will be moving, more clubs will evolve like that, where
that's the direction
investments are placed in the club and private sector put investments in the club. Facilities are constructed to host
because
games.
What we have started here now, we have had now companies now align themselves with 12 Premier League clubs.
Right.
We have started that.
Right.
So that is a step in the right direction. So once we are able to now improve on that as a product itself, it will be a step in the right direction. So, and that is why I say to you that the move that we have made now, although we this season, as you know, with COVID, we have a truncated season.
Yes.
So I think that kind of
coming up.
Yeah.
The government has given us the green light as it relates to that. So therefore, we'll have at least somewhere, I think about 80 games will be played. And then we'll have it. And then come next season now, we'll start at a later stage sometime in November. So hopefully in November of next year now, we should be able to now go in at full blast and start implementing something like the draft and the others. And we will see the infrastructure development now start taking place.
Right.
And the fact that these now major large conglomerates now align themselves with these clubs.
Right.
Boy, if that was going to be my next question, I was going to ask you. I'm still going to ask you anyway. But you pretty much the inside of, you're the insider, so you know what was going on. My question was going to be, I see sports as an avenue for social and economic development. Can you give me an insight as to the reason why we haven't seen more private sector involvement in sport in Jamaica? That was going to be my question. So I guess you already partly answered it, because you're saying that in the works there are an alignment right now, an alignment for private sector to come and get involved in some of these Premier League clubs. That's what you're saying, right?
Premier League clubs and invest in them.
Okay.
Well, let me just jump in a little question here, since it's related to and Troy Malcolm, a listener as well, is asking. The question is, how much funding or financial support?
Troy Malcolm.
Sorry? How much funding
Go ahead.
or financial support does the national program get from corporate Jamaica? But I think you have partly answered that. I think we are on a roll now where corporate Jamaica is seeing or buying into the football framework. I think it's happening now. And bear in mind, just to go back to what Ken had asked earlier, that whether you like it or not, we are not really, we love football, but we're not a football nation, I say that when you compare to like a Brit or England or even not Brazil, but England, for instance, in terms of how passionate they are about support.
Even Mexico, put it at Mexico.
Mexico, yeah, right? Okay.
In our region.
We love football, but we're not going to put our money into football just yet. Because we don't see the economic...
We don't have that culture. The culture.
Yeah, exactly. The economic value or returns from that. And I want to segue into even the entertainment sector. We don't see, private sector investing in concert venues in the States and other so-called developed countries. You have amazing
massive things,
venues, and they're privately owned. It's not government, You have
for entertainment.
Again, basketball, the same thing. The privately owned arenas.
John, a classic example is Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt, he gone, and what is it? What have we achieved financially?
Yeah.
And economically. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
But Wendell, exactly. you see
and it comes down to the culture.
Right. You see companies like Adidas. You see companies like Nike. You see companies like Puma, who is outfitting our athletes.
Not just
I know about companies that manufacture sportswear in Jamaica. I haven't seen them come up front and do that. They haven't come and like outfit or athletes. They allow Nike and Puma and these companies to come in and do that. So are they not seeing the economic benefit that can be had from doing such a thing? Are they not seeing that? You tell me, because you're in Jamaica and you're in the football. What is preventing happening?
Certainly. As I said earlier, Go ahead, Boyers.
John mentioned about the culture.
Okay.
Right. So we're not there. We're psychologically, socially, we're not really there. We're still selling bread and bun. And we still, we're still into that sugar cane and
we don't see sports. We don't see investing in sports as a major thing.
And tourism.
We don't see investing in sports as a major thing.
Tourism is our thing, our main bread earner. So companies are not so inclined as yet. But I think it's a work in progress. I'm happy to hear, like the what's that body that was formed, the Professionals League, in Jamaica, the
professional football.
Right.
Yeah.
They are now kind of galvanizing and try to solicit private sector involvement, and it seems to be working. So we are still young. In terms of
green.
So John,
man, you're a very young man.
John, somewhere on the KCJC Sports Talk 1 week we mentioned about the impact that people like I think it was Cartel had on Clark's in Jamaica when he came out with that song. And you know, I have something which is not really related to sports gear, but even we have the clientele in Jamaica. That's the sad thing about it. We have people who would patronize, you know, those companies if they do that. Clark's recently is have an article that was printed saying that they're trying to increase their market in Jamaica. A company like Clark's, a company that have been established from like 1925, and they realize that Jamaica can be a very valuable market to them. So I can't understand how these guys who are, you know, they have businesses that have the same, pretty much the same structure like the other sportswear companies, and they're not getting deeply involved in sports in Jamaica. You know,
but
so
let me say
you have to speak to them.
Yeah, let me say quickly though, you know, I don't know if we have the companies in Jamaica with the kind of power and funding and vision that a Puma or Adidas would have. Those guys have a lot of money, you know.
No,
So
but they started off with the same model though, John. They started off with the same business model. So that's how you're going to get growth. You use the same model and apply it the same way and then you get growth.
Yeah, I understand. But that is long term. They're not thinking long term just yet. You know, because we want to sell some jerseys, but we want to get the money right back right now. You know, so it's a culture. As boys, it's a culture which we have to evolve. And I think, and I'm saying I'm happy that the JFF is pushing in that direction, and I think it will happen. The professionalism of all sports, certainly football, the major sport, that is going to happen, I think, in time. It's going to happen when we have qualified coaches, qualified professionals at varying levels to push and to make sure that whatever we do smacks of professionalism.
Because John, one of the problems that we have there now is that all the sports are amateur.
Exactly.
They are amateur. So therefore,
exactly,
a career opportunity in this area.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So
and
that's a major problem.
Look at the schools, for instance. If you go into the school and say, I want to be a professional sportsman, people laugh at you, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changing now. But people laugh at you. It's changing now thanks to people like the Asafa Powells and the Shellians and you know them. Yeah. You know, it's changing slightly, but still, there's a hesitancy in terms of you want to do sport. And that's large because the scope of it in Jamaica is limited in terms of I want to be a professional sports person. What am I going to do in Jamaica? I have to migrate if I want to be a professional sports person. You know, that is the thinking, really. You know,
I have heard that they have now include physical education into the curriculum for CXC. Is there any truth in that?
Of course, yes, about 4 or 5 years now, man.
Okay, so how is that going to?
It's about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So,
do you think that will change the mindset?
That would have to partially revolutionize the sports to some extent.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly will help.
People start seeing sports as a that is what we have to start with.
Right.
Once we're able to do that,
because
the fact and the reality is that you have your kids and you send them go to school. And when you look at the opportunity in terms of sports and a career opportunity in sports as opposed to other sectors, what you will do with your kid?
Yeah.
You want him to place emphasis on the other sector.
But this is where education and information is important, because sport is not just about the career in sport. It's not just about playing football. You can be a sports journalist, a sports physiotherapist, a sports medicine doctor, a sports event organizer, a grounds manager. Yeah, those are all specialist fields, you know. You know, and again, we have to point to the Englands and the Brazils and the Mexicos. The man who is in charge of the stadium in a Brazil or wherever. That's a highly paid man, you know. He's a highly paid professional.
Highly paid.
You know, so it's not a joke business. So, but as I said, we haven't got to that point yet of realization. We're beginning to get there. You know, we're beginning. Sports psychologists, we had one on the program the other day. You know, those are all varying fields of sport. You know, so
we would be remiss if we didn't touch
once we can move away from the amateur status. Once we can move away from the amateur status, then we'll be right there.
Absolutely.
That is the key factor.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Bias, I want to ask you this question because me and you had a little bit of discussion about the Jamaican team, and I want to ask you that's our national senior team I'm talking about, and even the national junior team also. What can be added to our current programs that will give our players some form of strategic advantage over other teams? Because I see that we're a little bit lacking when it comes to strategic advantage. We're gifted when it comes to speed and quickness and strength and toughness, but yet we don't seem to do very well when it comes to gaining strategic advantages. So what could be added so that we gain strategic advantage over other teams?
One is improving our tactical approach. We got to be more consistent in terms of our tactical approach to games, in terms of using video analysis to sort of break down our games as such. This is something now that we start implementing in our program, and therefore this will play a significant role in terms of that the coaches have these various analysts who will then pass on the varying information to him as it relates, starting from the training ground and then into the matches itself. So this is something that we have implemented in our program, and hopefully this will start bearing some fruit for us.
And let me add to that. Let me just add quickly to that. Also, what could also assist in that, in what you're talking about, Ken, is when our local players are able to go away and to get contracts with the overseas teams and in England and wherever, they also will learn a lot about strategy and about that kind of system of play, a more disciplined system of play, when they are able to go away on contracts abroad, to experience high-level coaching, high-level training, high-level operation and professionalism and so on. A similar thing happened in cricket with West Indies cricket. When cricketers used to go to England to play with club teams, and they got so good, that when they came back to the West Indies, they were well groomed, well nurtured, and a high sense of professional play. They got so good that West Indies became dominant, and then England went in and they stopped that program because they went, man, these guys are getting too good, They come, learn our craft, come back and beat us, and they curtailed that program. They didn't allow as many West Indians to come into their county cricket again. So I'm saying that when the footballers go away, they can learn that kind of strategy that you're talking about in terms of the thinking. So the order on us to make sure that we prepare good talent that they can be exported as well, and we can bring them back when we're ready,
And that is why we are looking at that elite program.
There you go.
Yeah, once we have that elite program, because that is something I was going to come to, that for these players to make the transition into the Premier League, and of course, as you mentioned, John, the opportunity to apply their trade overseas, and by picking up that the whole professionalism and the awareness, everything for that growth and development going forward.
Yeah, man. The polishing that they need. You have the raw talent, but the polishing to make sure that piece of a gem, that is part of the thing. I want to ask,
probably about over 100 young players playing their trade overseas.
Is that so?
Yeah.
You see that? You see that? That's great. That's quite
therefore,
great. I didn't realize the numbers, but nothing
yeah,
mentioned it.
now we want to get them in the big league now. And once we are able to do that.
Yeah. I have a concern. I know that the Jamaica Premier League has got the green light. They're going to be starting. The major concern is that of safety, given the crisis that we are experiencing with the pandemic and so on. I guess I'm wondering, how is it that we're just going to play it by chance, or how can we ensure that the players and all participants, referees and so on, are, should I say, well, safe?
They're thinking about a bubble.
How do you do that?
Which will be a which will in fact be a cost, which costly venture. They're exploring now, and it's 2 weeks really, or something definitive that relates to that. Or the players, they might look at, they probably play and go back to their destination, search, with a certain level of assurance as it really
Boys, the position of shifted
start.
the screen.
But boy, let's go back a little bit. You're too close to the screen. You're not hearing?
It be a challenging. Yeah.
I think he's out.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Go ahead.
Got a little freeze there.
Okay,
Yeah, but,
I'm here.
go ahead.
all right, we're back again. We missed all you said a while ago. Boyos?
We have a delay.
Yes. No. We were speaking about the Premier League competition itself.
And the safety of it.
And the safety of it. And I was speaking about the bubble.
Okay.
And that will be a costly venture to
that's
for
exactly
something like that to manifest itself.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
It will be a costly venture. So they will be exploring other avenues with a certain level of safety as it relates to all parties. Again, they're looking at things from a strategic standpoint to come up with the best possible solution. So within the next 2 weeks as such, we'll hear some definitive words regarding it.
I'm happy that they have restricted the playing, the venues for the matches. And it's Sabina Park and the National Stadium. So that means they can exert a little bit more control over what happens, which I think was a good idea. So I must applaud you for that. Just restricting the, where you play. But so let us see how it goes.
Apart from COVID, John and I spoke about this before, and we're very passionate about this. Safety should be #1 priority in sports. What sort of measures are put in place to ensure that all players involved in every sport in Jamaica present a pre-season physical examination before they are allowed to participate in any form of sport in Jamaica?
Well, this is something the government is looking into it. This is something that they're planning on implementing, because we have seen, I would say, a high percentage of individuals who fall by the wayside in terms of something like that, who have, lost their life as it relates to sports itself. Just recently, we had a national player.
Yeah.
A national player who lost his life just on the pitch when he went on the pitch. So something of that magnitude is of utmost significance, and it's something that we vigorously explore.
But would that be onus of that would be on the club per se, or
per se, but club in conjunction with it, with government entities, because if sometimes if you look at it from the perspective of the clubs, so much, the resources within the clubs are so limited.
Okay.
So again, if we are able to get that level of partnership as it relates to the professional ranks, it will be, because just look at it from an amateur standpoint. For an amateur institution to really put those things in place from a budgetary standpoint, it's not an easy task. So if it's something that we can get from a national perspective across the board, that the government buys into this, see the significance and the importance of this, because at the professional level, at the Premier League level, you will have that. Without
so
those 12 clubs at the Premier League, bring that down to the high school. How many of the high schools can put that in place? How many of the second tier and third tier groups can put that in place? To get that on a broad basis, to have that now as a national policy as it relates.
It's going to be a challenge.
I have 2 more questions I have to ask the bias. Number one is the Super League. We're going to be very brief on it, but I want to ask you about the Super League. So there is still unrest in England right now pertaining to the Super League that was formed. There are spectators, especially Manchester United fans, who are boycotting certain partners, commercial partners of the club, because their effort is to get the Grazer family out of Manchester United fully. What was your give me your take on the Super League? Do you think it was a great idea? Do you think it's going to be coming back? Do you think this is the future of football or what?
Well, is and tradition, from a traditional standpoint, I don't think the present governing bodies regarding football would buy into a concept of that.
Okay.
And therefore,
good point.
You have a certain level of resistance as it relates to that going forward. Because if you look at what happens, if you notice all the individuals who were part of that board, what they did with them. All these individuals have lost their posts.
Right. Some of them resigned, but some actually lost it because they thought it was going to be, the monetary gain was there. They were willing to give up their posts, some of them.
But then again, a competition like that would be something that would be a special, very special competition. Believe you me. It will be the creme de la creme of the creme de la creme. Coming up against each other. And you can imagine the kind of revenue that would be generated from a competition of such magnitude.
But that is what inspired the thought in the first place. The promise of money. That's what's inspired.
Money.
Of course. That is what inspired it. The promise of money.
Right. So last week we touched on something briefly, and I mentioned that when you look at let's talk about this Champion League, for example. I mean, UEFA champions, right? Champions League. Let's talk about it, for example. I don't know if you noticed the great level of emphasis. We know that there was emphasis before, but a great level of emphasis that is placed on the technical aspect of football nowadays. Last week I mentioned that every team that was in the semifinal, if you look at them, they have coaches that are very technically sound. And now we're down to, of course, my team, Chelsea, and Manchester United in the final. Two of maybe the best technician in football currently. Now, tell me, what do you think? How do you think that this emphasis that is being placed on the role in football? Tell me, how much difference do you think it's making for teams like Chelsea and Manchester United? For example, look at Chelsea. They were playing terribly until January when Thomas took over. when he took over, everything changed. And now pretty much they're the favorite to win the championship in my book.
Yes, significantly, if you look at Europe and UEFA, the emphasis that they have placed on coaches, starting at coach education. And that is why we mentioned the whole aspect of coach education, how important it is to educate the coaches. And once the coaches are educated and have been given the exposure and the quality experience at that level, then it lends itself now to that quality development that you have seen a vast number of high quality coaches or managers then, so to speak.
Okay, one final question. Now that we have all of these foreign-based players that are invited to play for the national team, of course, we know that some of them have already pulled out, like Ivan Toney, who played for Benford. He pulled out. He said that he still have intention of playing for England, so he pulled out. But my question to you is, what kind of pressure does this put on Theodore Whitmore as a coach to ensure that if his position is for him to lose?
Well, looking at the squad itself, I'm very confident. I think with what we have, the fact that the unrest that we have as it relates to the contractual agreement, and we have gotten that behind us. And I think that the fact that we have gotten that behind us, we have some other players who will be drafted into the squad itself, which means that from a quality standpoint, we will definitely be there in terms of quality. If you look at the attacking force, I think we have a very formidable attacking force. Defensively, I think we strike a good balance there. There we could probably inject probably a one or two players back in that aspect, of which the coach is looking into. We have a competent goalkeeper, and then we are looking forward to having now a good quality number 2 and number 3 goalkeeper. And I think we will be right there to stand a grand opportunity of qualifying for the next World Cup.
Okay. Anything else, John?
One clarification. Is it Manchester United or Manchester City?
I'm sorry, Manchester City. Did I say Manchester United?
Yes.
Yeah, that was my fault, my blunder. Yes, Manchester City.
Okay.
So we have Pep Guardiola up against Thomas Tuchel.
Okay.
Two very technically sound coaches, man.
Technically sound coaches.
Very technical.
Gentlemen, because I have a year 30.
Yes, we're closing
so
now.
we've come to the end of another program,
Very
boys.
interesting.
Wendell Downswell, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking time off, man, from your busy schedule to come and share this moment with us. And we look forward to, the moment you come on a Rossi's program, you become a part of us. So there is no,
All right.
There is no, so expect some.
I'm from the West, man, so therefore.
So once again, man, thank you very much for taking time out. We enjoy every moment that you come. You see, we had some issues about making it short. It's hard to make something short when we have a great guy like you on our program. So thanks again.
All right, man. It was a pleasure, man.
And we're gonna be I'll be
to all the viewers and listeners.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm gonna be in touch with you, Wendell.
Yeah, man. We keep in touch.
And for our listeners, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our program. And once again, bye until next week.
All right, take care.
Take care.